Will the housing market crash in 2022 or in 2023 for that matter? And when will interest rates go down? Will home prices drop in 2023? So many questions and so many negative headlines. As a luxury property specialist here in Naples Southwest Florida, let's dig into what's really happening in the real estate market, and let's pull up some historical and current statistics and facts to shed some light on where the housing market is going. So the big question is, will mortgage rates keep rising? Well, as we're all aware, mortgage rates have more than doubled in 2022. Now that's never happened in a calendar year, so the pain that people are feeling is really relative to them rising so quickly. And that's causing many home buyers to press that pause button. But it's important to understand why this is happening and what we can expect going forward. It's all directly correlated with the Fed combating inflation. To quote George Retweet from Realtor.com, with inflation still running at a 40-year high and the Fed expecting a few more rate increases to combat it, mortgage rates will experience upward pressure through the end of 2022. So technically, while inflation remains high, mortgage rates will remain high as well. Now the good news from Mark Fleming of First American, while mortgage rates are expected to continue to drift higher over the coming months, much of this rapid increase in rates is likely behind us. So as inflation comes under control, so will mortgage rates. And that really begs the question, is there a recession around the corner? Well, according to the latest data released in October, 63% of economists polled feel that there's going to be a recession sometime during the next 12 months. So what does recession really mean to the housing market? Well, when we look at history, a recession does not mean falling home prices. So in 4 out of the last 6 recessions in the US, home prices actually increased. Now, while the crash of 2008 is still fresh in our minds, we have to remember that we have a very different landscape right now when it comes to inventory, lending standards, and equity. So in addition, history tells us that a recession more likely means falling mortgage rates, because in those same 6 recessions, mortgage rates dropped each time. So this comes, it's interesting. What does that all mean for home prices? This quote from Redfin is kind of telling. For those bearish folks eagerly awaiting the home price crash, you'll have to keep waiting. As much as demand is pulling back, supply is as well. And that's reducing the downward pressure on prices in the short run. So what does that mean? Well, it means homes are staying on the market longer, we're not seeing an influx of new listings, and it's still a seller's market. Home prices are really driven by supply and demand. And while there are more opportunities for buyers, there's still upward pressure on home prices. So looking at home prices in 2023, some experts are projecting slight appreciation and some slight depreciation. This is all relative to the local markets. So those where prices were up extremely rapidly during the pandemic, they may be starting to see more of a shift than those markets that were a little more level. Big banks like Goldman Sachs, Moody's, Morgan Stanley, they all project some price depreciation in 2023. And that's nationally because they're more focused on large publicly traded builders. And that environment is different than organizations that follow existing home sales. But when we're looking to 2024, the Home Price Expectation Survey predicts more normal appreciation in the years ahead. And that kind of depends on supply and demand, as inventory is still historically low. So some ups and some downs in 2023 and 2024, settling into a more normal pre-pandemic level of appreciation. So what's happening in the housing market in Naples, Southwest Florida? And how do we differ from the national statistics? Well, Hurricane Ian may have given people some pause on their buying decisions in our area. However, such an event always brings a big rebuilding boom, and many people are making the decision to restore and improve rather than leave the area. Now, it's truly remarkable how quickly progress is being made each and every day here. The restaurants and shops on 5th Avenue South, 3rd Street South, Tin City, Venetian Village, and so many other areas where they were impacted, they're now open for business and they're welcoming residents and visitors alike. So in areas that are a short distance from the waterways, you'd be hard pressed to recognize that we experienced a major hurricane event just a few weeks ago. So what do the latest numbers tell us? Let's look at the September 2022 data, and that showed a return to a more predictable pre-pandemic September of kind of slow closings and pending sales and a slight increase in inventory. It's really hard to include 2020 and 2021 in the comparisons as they were such unusual years due to the pandemic. But when we look back at September 2019, it's a much more apples to apples comparison. And in that regard, new listings have been decreasing all summer, down 29% from 2021. More importantly, new listings were down 33% from September 2019, a more normal year. Total sales were also down significantly from September a year ago, but were only down 24% from September 2019. Days on market is another important factor to look at, and as we compare September 2021, when the average days on market was 24, to an average of 41 in September 2022, but we compare that to September 2019, the average days on market was 102. So while we all think things are sitting longer, they are not on the market anywhere near as long as during a balanced market like September 2019. And how do we know that September 2019 was a balanced market? Because there were 6.4 months of inventory on that market, and it was equally balanced between condos and single-family homes at the time. Currently, we have 3.2 months of inventory in single-family homes and only 1.8 months of inventory in condos. Now that's a long way from a balanced market of 6 to 10 months of inventory. And the last metric we're going to cover is inventory of homes for sale. So in September 2019, there were 5,253 available homes. September 2022, the available inventory sat at 2,329. That's 44% less than the number of homes during that balanced market. And the median closed price, as we all know, has continued to increase in our area, and we've experienced strong price appreciation during COVID and beyond. So in September 2019, the median closed price of a single-family home was $402,000. In 2022, that number is now $680,000. Now for condos in 2019, it was $246,000. September 2022, it's $446,000. So while we're watching the price decreases in our market, it's important to note that the percentage of list price to closing price in September was 97.2%. That's higher than both September 2021 and September 2019, which were both around 96%. So the price decreases that we've been seeing for several months are not that impactful or dramatic. They're less than 3% off the list price, so that's a much more normal pre-pandemic percentage. And remember, during 2021, the list to close percentage was at 100% and above for some of those months. So is it a good time to buy a home in Southwest Florida? Well, no one can make that decision except for you, as to what's best for you, your family, and your unique situation. Now, there are several options, one of which is always renting. If you've priced rentals lately, you know that they've been extremely challenging here to find and expensive, as so many people have been displaced by Hurricane Ian. Now, another alternative is to wait to buy. Based on our timing here in Naples, Southwest Florida, as we're rolling into season, people may not be seeing those price reductions that they were hoping for over the next few months. And if you're financing, keep in mind that you're buying the house, not the interest rate. You can always refinance when rates come down. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Odetta Cushy, who's the Deputy Chief Economist for First American Financial Corporation. If you can find a house that meets your financial expectations for a monthly payment, and it's a good time for you to buy, then do that. And if you wait for prices to fall, well, and then maybe they never do, you may discover the hard way that the house you found a year ago that you really loved, that you could afford, but you passed on, is more expensive next year. Well, for help navigating the current market conditions or just questions about real estate in general, reach out, connect with me. I look forward to helping you love the way you live, Naples.